is just checking that it's going live. Sometimes there's a delay and we don't go live. So my name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Service. I'm going to talk about another issue this month. This is my monthly issue where I'm raising awareness about something. I said I would do it, go back to the roots, and raise awareness, try and reduce stigmas and that, give people basic information about different conditions so that it's a starting point, it's a jumping off point. And the reason I do that is there is nothing worse, and I've been there, getting a diagnosis, nothing else, and there's no support. You don't know where to turn to next. Absolutely terrible. It's terrible to be put in that position, and I don't want you to be there. So where I was, so that's why I do this. So it is just a starting point. There are links in the blog to help, for national organisations in this country, in the UK, and but do check out your own local area, if your child has been diagnosed or you have Tourette syndrome. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Understanding Tourette syndrome, what it is. There's a lot of misconception out there about it. So let's talk about what it really is. So it's a neurological disorder. Okay, and it's characterized by involuntary and uncontrollable tics. I think the classic one is the one where somebody curses, they curse, and that is extremely rare. And there are plenty of other tics. I'm going to explain what those are in a minute, that people have that would normally have, and they don't have the swearing. So you got to dispel that myth. Yes, it can happen, but it's not very common. This condition starts very early in childhood. Um, they're seeing cases as young as 2, so kind of between 2 and 6, this may start. It's not to say that it wouldn't start in somebody older, but that's the general idea of when it starts. Um, the child can be diagnosed with other conditions, so ADHD, OCD, autism, on the autism spectrum. And then later on, you can have issues, and I'm going to talk about those in a second, but anxiety, depression, and anger, but I'll talk about that in a second. There can also be sleep problems because the tics occurs in this while the child's sleeping as well. So, it's quite serious. Some of the signs now, I've listed out a lot of the signs, so I'm only going to give you very basic signs here, or just basic information. Just to say that signs or symptoms can be made worse by stress, anxiety, and tiredness. You might see an improvement in your child if the child was calmer or very concentrating on a lot, concentrating on something very hard. That has been seen. So, as I said, the examples of different kinds of tics are in the blog, but basically they're divided up into different categories. Motor or physical tics, so that's movements of the bodies, and then you have focal tics, which is sounds that can be made. They can also be classified. So those motor and vocal tics can be classified into either simple tics, where there's only one body part or very few body parts being used, or complex tics involved. And therefore, I have listed out examples of all of those in the blog. So do check that out. It's over at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. The exact cause is unknown. I keep saying that every time I come on to do one of these, I keep saying that, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. It is linked to a part of the brain that helps regulate body movement called the basal ganglia. Don't worry about the term. Just be aware that this part of the body, part of the brain, helps regulate body movement. There's also some indication that neurotransmitters are involved. So dopamine and serotonin, for instance, are involved in this one. Other factors, that it's genetic. So if there is a family history, it could happen in your child, and environment as well is in there. So what to do? Diagnosis. If you notice, or if you're concerned about your child, always Don't wait with a kid. Don't wait with a teen in particular, and particularly for mental health with teens. Do not wait. Go and see your GP or your child's main doctor. There is no single test for this, so they're going to be ruling out stuff as well as trying to rule in stuff. The different specialists. Um, so you're going to be asked about family history. You're going to be asked how long the tics have been present. You're going to be asked, to describe what's going on. The tics are motor and vocal tics, describe them, what's happening, how often they occur. And as I said, they're going to want to rule out, are there any other conditions that your child has that might be causing this? Or is your child on medication that could be causing this? So they're going to want to do all that. So be prepared for a number of tests to happen. Um, treatment. Um, treatment is sometimes required. Sometimes, there are some people, some children that don't need treatment, but there are a good few that do. So behavior therapy and medication may be used to help the child. And then you'll also have treatment and support for other conditions if they get diagnosed with that as well. Make sure to go prepared for the diagnosis, okay? Even if go prepared, even if you end up getting, no, that's not what's going on here. Always go prepared just in case. So have questions to ask, and I've listed out some of those questions in the blog, so do go and get them and write them down for yourself. um, Write down the answers you're given, or bring somebody with you, which is better sometimes. I think at least two adults go there and get a diagnosis, because the other person can ask the questions. You may be in shock, you may not ask the questions you need to. So have a think, have a brainstorm before you go. What might you want to know? Like, what kind of treatment is involved? Is there medication involved? Have a think about it. Bring somebody with you who can write down the answers, who can maybe step in and ask the answers on the question, sorry, on your behalf. But always remember, you can go back and ask, for more information. And also, link out and find the support group. As I say, that's why I've put the supports in any of these blogs that I do. I try and go and find support groups that you can go and link into, national organizations that are recognized. Go and find a support group, talk to them. These parents, in this case, it's the parents, they've been there, done that, and worn the t-shirt. So they know what you need to know. They are a wealth of information. And sometimes the professionals do not know. So you need to know. You need to be, find out everything you can. And you need to be your child's advocate. You need to teach your child to become their own advocate as well. Don't expect the professionals to understand your child's condition. Even, particularly in this case, in the teaching world, they may not understand it. It's not automatic. I have put a link out to the department's website there on Tourette's. So, you can give the teacher that link and show it to them, and look, link into this, have a read about it. This is my child's condition. But be prepared to educate them, be prepared to be able to explain to them, like, they need this, this, and this. It's on the report, and how they and make sure they're getting the support that they need. That's very important. They need understanding and support. The other thing you're going to have to do as a parent is nurture your child's self-esteem. Now, I'm going to come back now to the anger, to the depression and anxiety here. This starts off very young, and you've an opportunity to step in there. The younger a child has diagnosed a disability, it is a lot easier. It's harder the older they get and into the teens, but it's never too late. Nurture their self-esteem here. It's really, really important. Support their interests, their friends. It can be quite an embarrassing condition, particularly when they get to the teenage. It can be a very isolating condition as a result. They'll withdraw, they'll isolate. They can get, very stressed about it. They can get very anxious about it. They can get depressed. It is quite common for teens to develop, and young adults with disabilities to develop depression and anxiety. Um, so, we've got to keep those, as parents, we've got to keep those lines of communication open. Um, and make sure they don't isolate themselves, that they can self advocate, and that their self esteem is really good. And we all know that, teenagers are hard enough as it is, but add in a disability and it gets even harder. But it doesn't have to be that way. I know that. I know that from my own children. And it really does make such a difference to them if they have that inner self confidence. Um, get in as early as possible, and always, always, as I said, keep the lines of communication open, but always remind them, even when they start to do that withdrawal, as teens they do anyway, I'm here for you. I love you. No matter what, come and talk to me. That's what they need. The final thing I'll say to you is you need support. As parents, you need support. This can be a shock. Getting a diagnosis can be a huge shock. You can be overwhelmed with guilt. um, it's an awful lot of information you're getting presented with yeah, and you're trying to scramble to get that information. So as I said, professionals don't necessarily pass it on to you. That can be hard to come to terms with. So you've two choices here. Your parents, so I'm going to give you two choices. There's a choice to work with me. There's a link in the blog how to make that appointment. Or I have got a free group for mums that help you, support you with your stress. More than happy to support a mum, that has a child as well with a disability. I know what that's like. I've done it for decades, supporting other families with, parents that have had disability. So I'm a wealth of knowledge. I'm somebody you can come and pick my brain, as I say. I always say that to in the mums in my group. Come and pick my brain. I'm here if you need me. You get the option when you're in that group to private message me. It's all free. So again, it's in the blog. You can click into the website. You'll see a link for Less Stress, More Success for Mums. Click on that and you can come and join the group. So I'm going to leave it there today. Thank you all for listening. I hope that gives you some information and some help. Good morning, as always, to Deirdre for listening. Hi, how are you? I'll see you all on Wednesday, Tuesday night, 9 o'clock. Over on Twitter for Wexford Air, as always. And I will talk to you all again next week. We're doing another parenting one next week. But this is for adults and maybe how you were raised in a particular household. So I'm going to go back to that again next week, another issue there. And I'll talk to you all then. Have a good week.